Welcome everyone to the second of our series of F&B conversations in association with NRI. Today's panel is a very interesting mix of restaurateurs all from the eastern part of the country. We have Anindo Palit, who is the director of Savorit Hospitality Private Limited and the man behind the 6 Baliganj Place brand. We have Anand Puri, who is the managing partner of the iconic Trinkas restaurant. We have Varun Mimani, who is the co-founder and director of White Castle Hospitality, whose brands include Embar Kitchen, Azora, The Parking Lot, and Moza. We have Piyush Kankaria, who's the co-founder of the Yellow Straw, one of Kolkata's biggest juice bar chains. And finally, we have the youngest person on our panel. We have Dhruv Grover, who's the partner of Spectrum Beverages and Food Solutions LLP, which owns and operates the Brewing Leaf and 9 other cloud kitchens. Okay. So thank you everyone for being part of this panel. And as you know, that the name of the panel is, uh, format war. But as Anindoda pointed out very, interestingly and very importantly, that it's not a war because we're not talking about winners and losers because we all have to exist, coexist together. So I want to start my first question, and I want to start with Anindoda, who's the senior most, and his brand. I mean, I know Anand's brand has been around for donkey's years, but Anindoda is the senior most in the industry. So tell me a little bit about what do you think is so special about your format, and how is it still going to be relevant going forward with so much competition from all over the place?
Hi, Vikramjit. Good morning to everybody. Good morning to all my other panelists. See, Vikramjit, the last few years has been about survival. And it is only this month of February that we've had a little bit of reprieve. So I will not come to the word who's going to survive or who's not going to survive because for us it's all we are all struggling to survive. Which format is going to survive or not, I really don't know. But as they say that necessity is the mother of all inventions. And during the pandemic, when we saw that in dining was going down, in fact, it was at certain point of time, it was not being allowed by the government, and we were only surviving on takeaways, that's deliveries. We came up with something which is quite novel, which is we thought that, okay, let's do something more to the takeaway business. So what we did was we invested a lot in a little bit of research and packaging, and we came up with a kind of packaging which is called MAP or Modified Atmospheric Packaging, wherein the container is a special kind of container, and we imported this machine from Germany, where you take out the oxygen from the container and flush it with nitrogen and carbon dioxide, and then it goes on a cold chain. Thereby, the life of the product stays for 15 to 20 days. Now, we realized that people during the pandemic wanted comfort food, wanted food at their home. And this particular product, you can keep it at your home for a longer time. You can use it as you want. And thereby, we started off with 4 franchisee outlets. And today we have 15. And in the next couple of months, we're going to increase it to another 6 more. So this format, I believe, is going to take us, is going to be there and is going to go on increasing as delivery definitely is something which in the food and beverage sector is growing every day. So as far as survival of this format, of course, fine dining is going to be there, cafes are going to be there, everything is going to be there. I don't know how much or how much of business they will be doing. But this is a new format, as I said, which came up during the pandemic, and I think it'll be there for some time.
Okay, thank you. I mean, Anand, before we start with you, I mean, Anindoda made a very interesting point, which is, of course, technology is a very important part of how everything will survive going forward. And I think all of us learned the importance of technology over the last 2 years, especially. So, Anand, you have a brand which is the oldest, and obviously you for it to survive, it needs to develop, it needs to change. What is it that you're seeing, and what gives you the confidence to say that Trinkas is going to be around for another 100 years?
Well, thanks for having me on this panel, and I'm excited to be here and talk a little bit about what's been going on, where we are, where we're heading to. One of the things that I feel being part of the classic restaurant industry is that we have a very old-fashioned business model where you have a product, you have a service, you focus on them, and that generates your income. So we've stuck with that throughout. We've stuck with that for, my family's been with this restaurant brand for the last 62 years, and it's been around for another 20 years before that. So we're heading towards 100. This brand has survived. This is a time proven technique of generating money to survive. And also, if you want to do something else, this is what puts it out there for you. So basically, what I'm saying is you can survive on this, but you also need to invent and innovate. Now, Anindya has said that technology is a big component. I've used technology to tell my story. So we started a project called the Trinkas Timeline Project, which basically went viral, and a lot of people have started to know about Trinkas now. So as the pandemic went on and people sort of suffocated in their houses, we gave them a little window into the past, and we gave them a little bit of a glimpse of hope about what things were and where they were going. So it's important to use technology as it best suits your brand.
Okay.
And I think that's going to help us go forward.
Yes, absolutely. Varun, you have a large variety of businesses, and you're also got some really nightlife centric products as well. What is your brand future looking like? What is your formats looking like? What is it that you want to get into, and how confident are you of the future?
Okay, so Bikramjit, frankly, nightlife as a segment has for a long time been vastly ignored particularly by the government entities. The fact of the matter remains, and something which we need to realize is that India is a country with the maximum number of young people in the world, which means that we need to understand how to cater to the youth. So, a few years ago, we realized that younger people are, I won't say shying away from fine dining, but they want something apart from it. Fine dining is amazing for, once in a while, but they want a more casual space. They want a more upbeat space, right? And that is where nightlife walks in. Uh, so, having been in this industry for 7.5, 8 years, we realized that nightlife in itself has got a brilliant future ahead. We're seeing massive growth with the number of brands coming in, number of properties coming in. Uh, Having said that, I don't see any kind of a decline in nightlife over the coming years. As a matter of fact, people are, forget young people, we are getting 50s, 60s, 70-year-old people who are coming in to enjoy casual dining, to enjoy nightlife experiences, right? Having said that, obviously, the last 2 years has been a tremendous learning experience. We've realized that nightlife alone cannot survive a business. We need to look at other avenues as well. So we've just gotten into deliveries and the QSR format which we are developing, because these are spaces which, let's say, are well-rounded addition to our current portfolio. So that's the way it works. I personally, if you ask me, I see space for every single kind of format in this industry. It's huge. We have a massive audience available in India itself. And I think every single format has its USPs. Every single format has its appeal and charm to people. And as long as there are people to capitalize on that and understand what the people want, it all works together.
Okay. Piyush, your brand, of course, you're on mute. If you just unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
Your brand is a health centric brand, and you must have done fabulously well in the last 2 years. What is the future looking like? Because yours is also a very competitive segment, and people are looking at health and healthy and vegan and that part of the industry very, very closely.
Hi Bikramjeet, very good afternoon to all the panelists and all the viewers. So I'm co-founder of a brand called the Yellow Straw. We are essentially a juice bar chain out of Kolkata. So this itself is a big irony, a juice bar in a city of chai walas. So as you said rightly, Bikramjeet, the health quotient, or frankly speaking, when we started 6 years back, I mean, even till now, we get this very common dialogue from a lot of people. India में health नहीं बिकता. It's very simple. So it has to be tasty. It has to be, I mean, damn good. Palate wise, perfect. Health bikna is kind of a cliche. But yeah, thanks to COVID, the dynamics have changed a lot. The awareness has increased manifold, especially in the eastern part of the country, which I believe was a bit lagging when it comes to acceptance of healthy food or the healthy lifestyle per se. So there's been a good dynamic, good shift in consumer behavior with respect to accepting such products. And for coming back to the format, what we are talking about in this panel. So I believe our format is one of the safest formats when it comes to growth, when it comes to building a brand, when it comes to gaining a visibility with multiple touch points. Of course, pandemic has given a good roadway to cloud kitchens as well. But then, as a QSR brick and mortar brand, I mean, the brand visibility has to be there. And then, of course, you can always, I mean, encash on that and build multiple brands or multiple cloud kitchen brands from the existing QSR brand. So that is one part of it. Going by the numbers, as the NRAI Food Services report says, after the affordable casual dining segment, QSR is the fastest growing segment in East. Secondly, if we go by the number of outlet wise, QSR is by far leading among all the formats across Eastern India. Primarily reason being it is a bit of a low capex model. I mean, it's easy to start off at multiple points, multiple areas. So compared to a CDR or a fine dining or a club or a pubs. So this gives a good edge to QSR segment in particular, and it's a good way for new entrepreneurs coming to our industry to kickstart.
Okay. Now, Dhruv, you're itching to talk, especially after the Chaiwala comments. And go ahead, start off.
So thank you, Bikramjeet, for giving this opportunity to me to share this virtual platform with the market disruptors. And I think I'm going to be imbibing more than I'm sharing. It's a fanboy moment for me to be sharing the stage with Anindada and Anand and Varun. Um, just to give you a context of who we are and what we do. My name is Dhruv Grova. I'm the co-founder of the Brewing Leaf. My co-founder's name is Anirudh Gupta. We co-founded the Brewing Leaf back in December 2019. And today we have 10 distinct and unique brands which function as cloud kitchen, function in the cloud kitchen space. And coming back to this entire discussion, today we have to appreciate that we are at the cusp of a revolution where purchasing and consumption patterns have drastically and permanently changed. Today, a consumer has a multitude of opportunities or options to choose from. Having said that, the consumer always had these opportunities and options in the past, but never before, or the probability or the frequency of a consumer choosing convenience today is manifold. Today, a consumer can choose he wants to go to a fine dine and enjoy his chingri maraikali, or he can fine dine at the convenience of his house. Now, there was a trigger point. Why was this amplification of this cloud kitchen space in the last 2 years? This brings me to the main point that the biggest entry barrier for the cloud kitchen, there were two entry barriers for the cloud kitchen space. One was lack of trust and transparency. Lack of trust and transparency is the holy grail of the hospitality industry. Now, if you don't trust the person on the other side, how can you ever order? So there was always a hesitance in the mind of the consumer. Should we order from this space? Who's on the other side? How will the hygiene be? How will the ingredients be? So during the lockdown, people ordered more out of compulsion than a happy choice. And when people started ordering, we grabbed the opportunity as cloud kitchens. We lifted the veil very technically. We actually communicated the brand ethos to the consumer. So the Brewing Leaf, we've custom built a brewing machine for chai, where we've removed all kinds of inconsistencies in your cup of chai, right? So you will get the same cup of chai at 7 a.m. in the morning, at 2 a.m. because there is no human element involved in it, but it uses fresh milk and tea leaves to make your cup of tea, the authentic Indian cha, right? So we worked on that. We tried to bridge the gap of this transparency and trust. And the other most important thing that we did was we communicated with the audience. We communicated with our stakeholders. We let them know what we are doing, how we are doing. Again, the entire discussion today is about which format will triumph. I don't subscribe to that argument. How I see it is that if today, Bikramjit, I have to borrow you for an example. If you were in Calcutta today, you would walk down to your favorite QSR of Piyush, the Yellow Straw, grab a watermelon juice, come back to your house in the evening, swipe, and order another Ilaichi chai from the brewing leaf. And at night, you would want to go with your family and absorb the ambience and amazing food of Six Paliganj place while deciding whether you want to go to M-Bar or Trinkas on Saturday. So each format has its unique, distinct identity, which will serve a different need and purpose of the consumer, right? And this newer format that has come into play is only going to act as a third pillar of this ecosystem and make it even more robust. Now, yesterday, when we were just having a small discussion, you told me you're so passionate, Dhruv. The main reason is if you're in the cloud kitchen space and people can't see you, and if you're not passionate, then no one will ever trust you. We are the face, because tomorrow, Bikramjit, if a cafe opens, you have two options. Either you'll scroll on Instagram or Facebook and see how does this cafe look, or you just walk down, visually see the place and make a conscious decision, either say khareedna ya nahi khareedna. We are a name on the app, and everyone has beautiful pictures. Pictures better than what they actually are. So what do? When a consumer orders from you, he's betting on you. And how does the consumer generally order? He will order because he relates with your product. Say something like a gugni pav or something like a chicken chap in luchi. Odd options, what I'm trying to say. When they order, they're betting on you. And when you receive that order in the kitchen, it's upon you now to provide. The only thing a cloud kitchen can do is give a good product. There's nothing else that we can do. We can't serve an ambience. We can't do anything. A good product in a short turnaround time, and hoping he'll come back to you. If he does come back to you, the most important aspect then comes into place: consistency. So a good product, short turnaround time, consistent product will make this cloud kitchen space thrive. So I am of the view each format is going to coexist. It's going to be a symbiotic relationship of all formats, because each format serves a different need, a unique need of every consumer.
Okay.
Can I interject here and say something, Bikramjit? I think
Anand was very upset. You said you're going to have dinner at Six Baliganj place instead of Trinkas.
Yes, I was. But what I wanted to say is Dhruv hit on all the points that I was also mentioning, but in a different way. He put it in a different way. He put it out there that you have transparency and you have consistency and you have a story to tell, whether it's in terms of like what your product is or how you make it. It's exactly what I told you, 5 minutes ago, and he's repeated the same thing in a different way.
Yes.
Which is pretty much what cloud kitchens do for restaurants, no? They give you the same thing in a different way.
Yeah,
the only pitching point for us is
basically what Dhruv is saying is the cloud kitchen is like in the 80s or the 70s when you went out to the rasta and ate the puri and sabji. It was all about the quality of the puri and sabji, not where you were eating it. It's almost like that.
So, Bikramjit, I also, like Anirudh and I, a lot of the younger entrepreneurs.
Your puchka wala you go to because of his quality of puchka.
Absolutely, the food. So when you're serving, if Anand orders a keema gugni with pav tomorrow from me, the only thing that he'll get is that a keema gugni in a spill-proof packaging with a damn good, with other cutlery. There's nothing else that I can provide to him. So he's only going to get impressed by the quality of the product. There's nothing else, right? So there are many misconceptions that surround this cloud kitchen space. People come to us and say, "Humko ek cloud kitchen kholna," because there was this phrase which was going around, "Har ghar ka kitchen banega cloud kitchen."
And home chef,
which is a misnomer, which is not true, because it is just like running Anandada or Anandji or Piyushji or Varunji, it is tougher than that because people don't see you, people don't know you.
Your margins are this thin in cloud kitchen.
Besides the margin, the unit economic works out well if you can actually provide a good quality product. Today, what happens is that, as I mentioned previously, Swiggy and Zomato were considered to be millennial apps before the lockdown.
Hold on. And this is going to become a cloud kitchen conversation. Wait, let's go to the second question. Very important question, which all of us talked about. And I think at this stage, before going ahead, we should talk about, which is where is the money? Now, you guys have been in the industry for such a long time. Are you seeing the money coming back? If you are, where is the money that you're looking at? Because from a national point of view, the north of the country is always perceived to be where the most of the money is, or the big spenders are. But the East also has a lot of money. It's more conservative in some ways. So, Anindada, start, because you are also spreading the brand. Where are you seeing the money? Is it coming back to the industry? And if it is, where is the money?
You see, the first thing I'd like to reiterate what Varun said. Today's F&B business is primarily focused on the age group which is between 25 to 45. That's what all the gurus of F&B business says. Of course, our restaurant, and the same I would say for Anand's restaurant, is quite the opposite. We do not cater to the age group which is the young millennials. My children don't like to go to my restaurant. But saying that, one thing we realize is that one is, of course, the top line. The other is the bottom line, which is more important. And what this pandemic has taught us is that it is best to be lean and mean. We all like to be in a very expansive stage. We all like to have a lot of outlets, some doing well, some not doing well. But when the pandemic struck, we had about 550 employees. And we were very proud of that we are employing 550 employees. But that number was actually our biggest, you can say, downfall in this entire 2 years. The huge overheads which we had. So it's always best to be lean and mean. The money can come in any formats. My only question mark in this entire cloud kitchen business is this two aggregators, Swiggy and Zomato, because we depend so much on them, and they keep on increasing their percentages. And also another big factor is, which I don't know whether the NRAI can push it through, is that we don't have an input tax credit. So if Zomato charges you 20% plus 18%, it goes up to another 3-4%, which is killing. So as I said, a lounge bar today is being looked at as a great business opportunities. Cafes are coming up very strongly. That's another great opportunity. But overall, what we've learned in the last 2 years is to have a more than a good top line, to ensure that you have a better bottom line by keeping your costs down.
Okay, that's a good point. Anand, you have a heritage brand. So is heritage really attractive? Is it selling?
So here's what I'm going to say. We've changed a lot. There has been, in spite of being the same solid food and beverage place before, there's a lot of misconception that Trinkas is a place that you go out for drinks. No, we have great food, and people have rediscovered our food. And we do have an age group of 25 to 45 that is pouring in, that is showing us that whatever we're doing is working. We have a complete change in crowd. You could walk in, you could find, two men who are coming in after work or after office in their 60s, which is the general conception. And then right next to them, there's a group of ladies. There's 4 ladies having dinner. You've got a couple, and you've got a same-sex couple next to them. It's a complete mix of people that come here now. So it's really interesting to see how telling your story, whether through Instagram, through Facebook, through the Trinkas Timeline project, it's all helped. It's all sort of brought people into awareness. So you are seeing that, the market is huge. You just have to be able to put yourself out there and tell people what you do. And those who are attracted to what you do will come to you and be your customers. Sorry.
Varun? Again, where is the money? You're on mute, huh? Where is the money? Where are you
Okay.
seeing the money? Is there interest back in the industry? Are people saying, "Chalo, we have money to give"? Is that the way to go forward? Because venture capital is a very big part of business now. While as a lot of restaurants are still, I mean, there are parts of the industry which is still very conservative about this. Maybe they can afford to be, maybe they don't want to expand at a certain rate. But I know your business to some extent and Piyush and Dhruv depend on expansion. That is one of their ways of growing the business. So, Varun, tell me.
Bikamjit, the thing is this: when it comes to expansion, it's purely a personal choice, right?
Mm,
So there are people who opened a single outlet, really good outlets. They're doing very well. They're making money out of it, and they're happy with that. Okay. There are companies, there are people who say that no, I don't want a single outlet. I don't want a single brand. I want 40 outlets. I want 10 brands. And that's also great. Now, it all depends. See, there's always money. I'll not say the industry doesn't have money. Margins are wafer thin for sure. And that's, I think, across formats now. All right.
mm,
Because competition is extremely stiff. When you used to have, let's say, I don't know, 10 pubs and bars in the city till about 8 years back, today you have 10 in any one area that you pick. And I mean
mm,
any area. So obviously, margins are wafer thin. Uh, there's a lot of problems with regards to staff as well, which we do not realize. We think that because there was a pandemic and India does not have so much we say that East is not good for employment, right? But I think everyone here will agree that getting a good team member is one of the most difficult things in the business today. And it so happens, and this is where the money comes in. So let's say you have a budget of X amount for a particular position. You'll see in the market today someone who is maybe applicable to that X amount is getting 2x or 3x because there's shortage. So that is where the money goes. COVID obviously was a massive drain on our resources. I think as of date, uh, there are very, very few people in the industry who can say that, boss, we have money.
mm,
So I don't think we do. Over the last 2 years, we've spent all of our resources and more. I think most of us have borrowed money to survive, right? So, for, if you're gonna put these 2 years aside, I think the industry has money. It all depends how you want to operate it, at what level you want to operate it, right? There will always be competition. Having said that, there are times where I still feel today that with the number of people coming into the industry, with the sheer amount of investments people are doing, somewhere I think people are confused about the model of the business,
mm,
or maybe we have not learned the right model so far. Could be either way, because I do not see such a huge uh, demand. I do not see that the kind of capex that is happening today. And frankly, for nightlife, you need major capex.
mm,
It's a major amount per outlet, and I don't see a genuine rate of return with the way things are flowing today. Again, it's a market. Eventually, it's gonna thin out. There will be people who cannot survive. They're gonna have to thin out, and people who, like Anindita said, lean and mean, people who understand this concept, they will survive and they will see the money afterwards.
mhm.
So yeah, I think that's where it stands.
Yes. Mm,
Yeah. So as Anindoda Varun rightly said, lean and thin is the right way, or probably really helps, especially during the last 2 years. So one of the advantages, what I was specifically talking about QSR format, was it's a kind of a lean model. We are not too heavy on staffs. We are not too dependent on staffs because there are certain processes, certain SOPs to be followed, and it's done. And we don't need a proper Chinese chef or a proper tandoor chef to get our store up and running and make things perfectly. They just need to follow the SOPs and it's mostly done. So, I mean, having a lean model really works. Secondly, adopting technologies to improve your back-end controls, especially on the purchase, inventory, wastage side. That really helps in the growth of models. I mean, across the formats, I would say, not just QSR, but across the formats. And Another thing what I would like to emphasize is that the VC part, what you were saying. I mean, for formats like QSR or a Cloud Kitchen, I mean, that's of late what we have seen, a lot of valuations happening, a lot of investments happening. So this format has a potential to show a 10x or a 50x growth. What the VCs typically say, they want like 50 outlets in a 1 year time or 100 outlets in a 1 year time. So that's a kind of growth potential these formats have. But as Varun rightly pointed, it's always a personal choice. I mean, you want to open 100 outlets in a year's time, or you want to just be happy with 10 outlets and get them performing well. So money is there in our business. It's not like that. But yeah, with a lot of consumer shift happening to deliveries, the margins reducing substantially, the inflation going haywire. I mean, of course, it's really tough. So that's how I look at things. But another way is how smartly you manage your incremental sales, especially which works in our model. For example, today I have a range of, say, just juices. If I use the same inventory and I start my fruit shakes, if I use the same inventory, I start another portfolio of products. So the incremental sales in our model becomes quite easy, and that helps in growth to an extent and cater to a larger audience.
Anindada is back.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got disconnected.
Dhruv, your turn. Your model is one which is, perceived to be most money hungry. It is also a model where a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, say it's all about your expansion and put adding to the business more than quality in some cases. The
Absolutely.
guys who are
So
really expanding. So,
I'll
do you
borrow a leaf from what Varun said.
are you seeing people come in with money, offering you money? Are you seeing potential? And of course, your competition at your end is pretty high, I'm sure.
So I'll borrow a leaf from what Varun said, that money lies everywhere. It's a very personal choice of the co-founders. What is the vision of your company? Anirudh and I, when we started the Brewing Leaf, it was a very conscious decision to start a cloud kitchen or a virtual kitchen in 2019 when it did not have the lure as it has today, right? Everyone at that point in time, it was perceived as less capex, less opex, substitute to cafe and restaurant. So therefore that. But we have a thriving D2C business also, which is the tea packets, and we sell on Amazon and all other players. We wanted to remodel this entire iced tea thing, where we people perceive iced tea as only peach passion and lemon iced tea. And we came up with, like how Piyush was mentioning, that health nahi bikta hai, and I think Vikramjit, you got that. There was a trigger in my mind. Health bikta hai if it's palatable. So we remodeled Chaat Chai, and the chaat chai is a drink where you have green tea with hari mirch, adrak, mint. People don't even understand it. They're drinking a 300 ml of green tea, but it's a fantastic drink. So that was one thing. We wanted to do our experiments, and we also wanted to sell from a certain point. Therefore, we took a space which acted as a cloud kitchen. We had no idea it would mushroom so much in the future, right? Having said that, Anirudh and I have always believed we are operating in a modern format with an old school of thought, that we want to set up a very, very strong foundation before we expand to different geographies. If you want to expand from a pin code to a location to a geography, we are very conscious of that because we want each foundation to be solid. We are from even before we started, people wanted to invest money in us because they thought the idea was something great. But it's easier to take money than to use your own money and run it, and you're more conscious when you do that, and you are more passionate when you do that, when you're using your own money to run your own business. So as a cloud kitchen, it's not necessary that today you need to be flushed with funds and you have the 600 store in the next 2 years. No, the fundamentals, Vikramjit, have always remained the same. 100 years back or 100 years hence, people want a good product. You need to elevate the experience of the consumer. Whether if you can maintain your QC with just 600 store in some other part which is very far away from your control, or if you can do one store and vertically grow instead of horizontally growing, it's good for you. So it's not necessary or imperative कि पैसा चाहिए, expand करना है. No, it's not necessary. It's a very conscious decision of the vision, and we want to set a very strong foundation before we move to the second and the third and the fourth. That's how our vision is.
Okay. Anindoda, I wanted to start this round of questions with a couple of very important points you made. One is, of course, the behavior of the customer. How has the customer behavior changed, and how will it change the way you do business? Additionally, what are the things that you were doing which you taught yourself to do over the pandemic, which you will continue with in the foreseeable future? This is for everyone, starting with Anindoda. First, about customer behavior. What has happened to customer behavior that you're seeing?
Okay. So, when we were young, and I won't say when we were young, but when actually these Domino's and Pizza Huts came in, I remember that when they used to deliver, they used to give a sheet of paper, and every time, and there used to be some discounts there, and every time my children wanted to have something, so we used to start looking for that paper to find out what discount is available. Nowadays, even if you have a next door outlet, people rather than going to it, they will order through Swiggy and Zomato. So that has been the biggest change in customer behavior. These aggregators have really got into the, you know,
Yeah.
the consciousness of people. And I would say, I hope there's no Swiggy and Zomato people hearing me, but Swiggy and Zomato is what we call a necessary evil. They are killing our business, but we cannot do without them. That's one thing. The other thing is, it's now the digital era. Previously, if somebody used to come to your restaurant and they didn't like it, they used to either write in the comment card or you used to stand up and start shouting, and then the manager rushes in and tries to pacify, and all that used to happen. Nowadays, you don't have anything of that sort. The customer coolly goes back and puts a post, and there is, I mean, hell breaks loose, you can say. And the post is so damaging, and then it goes viral. So that's another aspect of the food and beverage industry which has happened is the customer is now uh, with the means and tools to share his views, and whether it is good or bad, I don't know. But that's something which has also happened in as far as the customer is concerned. Uh, yes, of course, price conscious customers have become more price conscious, particularly after the COVID. They now really look at the value proposition much more. Safety has become something which is of paramount importance. Now it is no longer just what we say that what we was 2 years back, safety and hygiene has the safety and hygiene factor is something which we now speak about much more from both the customer side, from the restaurant side. That is something which is really come up in these 2 years. Uh, So this is as far as the customer is concerned. Yes, few things which we definitely the learnings from the pandemic and few things which we'll definitely continue is, as I said, that we started off with a new mode of packaging. We plan to take it to retail, take that retail to maybe Spencer's and other marts and see how the response is. This is something for the very first time is being tried. There are a lot of packaged food, but this kind of packaging predominantly is used in sweet industry. The first time it is being used for gravies and stuff like that. So we'll see how the response is. Previously, menu card was the way of ordering. Now you have QR code, which is a very good thing, and a lot of restaurants are going to continue with that, pandemic or no pandemic. Ordering system through the QR code is going to be much more popular. Uh, as I said before, what was used to be lip service before about hygiene and safety, restaurants are going to take it much more seriously, and that is something which we are also going to continue. When we started delivery, we realized that packaging is something which is very important. You need to send the food to the customer in a much more better packaged manner. No longer can an idli be wrapped in a banana leaf or the sambar tied in a plastic pouch. So you have to think of something much more. And all the F&B outlets have come up with very innovative, attractive ways of packaging, and that is something which I'm sure is going to continue. And last but not the least is what has been the biggest factor is manpower. We've realized that the first thing which we started off with and which is very unfortunate is that we realized that we have to let go of our expensive manpower, our senior managers, our the brain or the think tank of the company. So we had to let them go because they had huge salaries. Also, the first people who were affected were chefs having very large salaries. So one thing we realized is that rather than having very high salaries, it's best to come up with an incentive model so that when the going is good, you pay well. When the going is bad, everybody shares the downfall. I think these are the learnings which we've had over the last couple of years, and I hope we are done with the learning and now we are able to continue with the business, and we hope we see the end of COVID.
Yes. Anand,
Well, I think one of the things that we really focused on during the pandemic is aligning all our cooks and chefs to produce consistently. So we were really focusing on, making sure the dish looks the same. That okay, so you've got three cooks preparing the same dish, they've all got a different finishing touch to it, right? So you have to close that gap and make sure that they actually are in sync with each other's flavors so that they know what the other guy is going to be doing and they know how they should be doing it. So it's very important to train your staff and also bring the consistency up to a certain standard. That's of course something that you have to do, and it's one of the cornerstones in any of the F&B businesses that are on here. Consistency. How has the customer changed? They expect their food faster. They expect it to look a certain way. They expect basically a value for money. So that all comes into consistency as well. And Mr. Palit is sorry. Go ahead.
Food has to be Instagrammable, no?
It has to be Instagrammable. That is exactly the word I use, and it's really hard to do with a lot of things. But we're trying to go into that. We're trying to make food look a lot more appealing. It's not as easy as it looks. Not the way we as Indians eat. How do you photograph a curry to make it look, spellbinding? It's a bit tough. But we're working on it. Let's see where we go on that. I think food presentation is going to be a big thing in the future. And I love what Mr. Palit said about how they are actually being able to look at segueing off into sort of a retail version of their product. I think that's big for the future. I think that's going to be something that will be very important. He also said something that was very, very prominent, is that people have access to social media and they have the ability to voice their opinions in a manner that they've never had before. And that is so double-edged as a sword. It could go for you, it could go against you. And I think we all have that fear somewhere in the back of our heads that,
You're being
what
very
is going
polite.
to happen?
You're being very polite and politically correct in your discussions. I can see the thought bubbles in the heads of everyone else.
It's a double-edged sword. It goes both ways. And you really have to be careful because this is a business with so many moving parts. Anything can happen. You don't know where the next surprise is coming from. You try your best. And that's again where consistency helps, that you're trying to put certain processes and certain ways of doing things into play that minimize your chances of having something going wrong. But yeah, so it's all about putting food out there quickly, consistently, and making sure that people are happy before they step out of at least my establishment, or before they, in everybody else's case, sort of finish their meal.
Okay. Varun, your selection of restaurants is the most varied, I think, among everyone else's. You have the most varied. You have got your finger in various kinds of pies. So again, that same question: where do you think customer behavior? How is it developing, and how is it affecting your business? And secondly, what have you learned in the pandemic, which you will take forward, which you think works going forward?
So, Bikramjit, I'm actually going to divide the customer behavior bit into two parts. One is a generic behavior, and the other is COVID related. So, what we've seen, and I'm going to be a little more, well, blunter than Anand and Palitzer when it comes to social media. You know what people don't realize, and this is a very key point. We've seen a lot of times when people come into dine, see mistakes can be made, right? Things can go wrong. It is still a human process. We do not have robots making food. We do not have machines serving food. We are people. We can make mistakes. Sometimes we may not be making a mistake, but we may not be up to your expectation on something. But having said that, I think the massive shift today is that people have become extremely rude, and there's something which I think all of us have faced. We've actually had times when our senior managers and even myself at some occasions have gone to a guest and have reminded them that, listen, sir, we are here to serve you, we are not your servants. It's a very, very fine line. When it comes to social media, trust me, people have threatened for things which are so irrelevant, and they've put up these posts. The problem is this: when a post goes viral, no matter what we say, no one wants to hear our side of the story. It's done. We are evil. We are the enemy, and that's it, right? So much so, I have put body cams on my staff today. For the last 3 to 4 years, there are certain key team members who wear body cams, and if at all there's an altercation, they immediately record it. Because frankly, people don't realize that a single rant on a Facebook or a Zomato can mean a massive loss not only to us, but to the poor server who's trying to serve you, who's trying to goodbye you. But it's a massive issue. That's one part of it. Customers have become extremely. I've never seen our parents behave that way. Even if something was wrong, our parents would just say, "Ye acha nahi hai, chhod do."
Hopefully, we also don't behave that way.
I won't be sure, but okay. We as a we as an industry know, so therefore we never behave that way. But we as a generation, I'm not that sure.
Okay. I
That's
agree.
one. The second part is obviously, people are. So I have. I'm going to differ a little bit where both Palitzer and Anand has said that people have become a little more price conscious. But again, it depends from format to format. What we have seen is a massive change in customer behavior, wherein, and we are an upscale place. All our properties are upscale. They are more expensive as compared to the other restaurants. But we have seen such a wide variety of guests coming in over the last 3 4 years, which we never expected. You know, every format, every kind of a restaurant has a certain TG, right? Because this is my TG, they can afford to spend X amount of money. But today we've seen the young people, they come in and they are willing to spend money if you are willing to give them that experience. They're happy to spend money for it. They no longer care ki boss, okay, a dal here is 500 rupees. I can get the same dal at XYZ for 150 rupees. Why should I not go there? No, I'm coming here because of the ambience, of the service, of the view, of the food, of everything. So that I think is a major shift, at least for us. Third, I think most importantly is that people today understand food a lot more. Say 5 years ago, if you would, and we've tried that, about 7 years ago, we tried these molecular cocktails. It was all the rage back then, molecular gastronomy, this and that. Trust me, people wouldn't get it. Today, when it's happening, people are understanding what it is. So if I am infusing, let's say, a cocktail or a mocktail or even a pizza with a particular flavor of smoke, people are appreciating, they are understanding it. So when they sniff it, they immediately say, "Oh, it's smoked with rosemary, nice," which I don't think was there a few years ago. So which means that we as restaurateurs, we as people in the industry, need to understand these things better. We need to embrace. I'm not saying go full on molecular. don't make your spheres and this and that, but we need to embrace that there are now multiple layers in F&B. It is no longer just visual, it is no longer just the taste, it has to do with all the senses now. Surprisingly, I think there is a restaurant in US which actually is serving dessert as a liquid and you're supposed to lick it off your hands. And they call it a sensory experience.
We call it payesh.
I mean, we've been doing that for donkeys years,
We have
but we
been
always
doing
eat
this
bananas.
ये कुछ
But,
नया नहीं है।
having said that, I'm not going to pour chocolate sauce and caramel sauce on someone's hand and say lick it off. But all I'm trying to say is that people are looking at a more rounded experience. That's the non-COVID. COVID part, obviously, we've all covered. QR codes are here to stay. I think that is one of the best things that's happened. I think we've spent thousands of rupees on menus and then maybe getting it redone every 6 months or 1 year or change the price and it's a lot of cost. I think QR codes, I'm loving it. It's the one thing out of this pandemic I think is great. It's saving us a lot of money. We can change the menu whenever we want. All it takes is a few strokes of the keyboard. It's great.
And
safety, hygiene, all of that.
one very frustrated graphic designer. Let's not forget. Okay.
Well,
Piyush,
they're always frustrated with clients, so it's fine. But yeah, those are the key learnings that we've got as of now. For pandemic, I think Anand and Palitsa have covered most of it. I don't think there's a lot more to say on that. But yeah, I think a lot of the things that we have adopted during the pandemic are here to stay. And I think it makes the overall experience a better one.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's going to be a great learning going forward.
Piyush, your views, what is it that you've learned from, how has consumer behavior changed? I mean, your segment of health juices, obviously it is very true and it's grown because of the interest in the segment. And where do you see the kind of practice that you do? Yeah, go ahead.
Just to give a small number of how the behavior has changed in Kolkata, at least what I can say, ours is one of the best outlets in Kolkata airport, which has the best recovery post-pandemic. When we started, people used to buy a cup of coffee for an X amount, whereas our juices used to be sold for the same X amount, and people were happy with the coffee. But over the last 2 years, we have seen a good shift, good change in that behavior, where people have acknowledged and appreciated for the fact that, glass of juice is much more good for their sibs, for their conscience, or probably they feel, less guilty about themselves. So that has been a major shift. But coming to a consumer change in behavior pre-pandemic, also what Palit sir said about the Swiggies and Zomatos, we had our outlets, quite a few corporate parks, tech parks. So we have people ordering from their offices on Swiggy and Zomato to avail the amazing cashbacks and all those cash burning offers and stuff like that. And they used to come in front of our outlet and say, "This is my Swiggy order, give it to me. I don't need it from the rider." So we have had instances like that. And coming to the change in behavior during the pandemic, in fact, we closed our outlet only for 8 days when the first lockdown came. Since then, we have not closed for a single day. Thanks to our format or the lean model, we were flexible enough to start selling fruits instead of juices during the first lockdown. So that was a good experience for us to understand the consumer behavior. For example, if I go to market or you go to market, you buy bananas, mangoes, apple, and you come back home. It may so happen that one of the bananas has just, been pressed by a mango or an apple. We happily accept it, we acknowledge it, we eat it. We don't make a fuss about it. When you order from Swiggy or Zomato, you expect every single thing to be spick and spanky clean, just like you are picking, as if you are buying a piece of gold. So that was a learning for us. Of course, the customer expectation is something we can't really complain about. So a learning was that we have to change our packaging. So in order to adhere to better customer experience, we shifted to boxes to give our fruits instead of the brown pouches, brown paper bags. So that helped us reduce a lot of such complaints. Another learning, what we have seen from this pandemic especially, is how we handle the customer grievances or the complaints, whatever. because as they said, social media frenzy. I mean, everybody has become so social media frenzy. I mean, last week I remember we got a threat mail. There is a scratch in the logo of our bottle, and they say, "What quality bottles are you providing?" I'll post it to social media. So that was an open threat. I was laughing. I mean, you can post, of course, no big deal. So of course, we don't really bother about such complaints. But there are, as Varun said, that we can make mistakes because of error, because of delivery rider messing up with the orders, or our staffs messing up with the orders, exchange of orders. So many things happen. But as a policy we adopted over the last 2 years, any customer review below 3 star, a call goes to them from our backend team, customer grievance handling team. They speak to them, and the issue is addressed. So what we realized, 95, or in fact I would say 99% of the people are so gratified for the fact that the brand is concerned. They get a call back to understand what is the problem. In most of the cases we figure out that okay, the problem was not really that great, and it's not really something that we have to worry about. And at certain times we have compensated them by sending the same item right away, or maybe during with the next order. That helped us to retain the customer loyalty to a good extent. So this really helped us. So, and this we realized that, yeah, because of such social media frenzy and such high expectations, I mean, the brand also needs to adopt to better strategies with respect to handling such customer grievances. So that was one thing. Another thing, the customer behavior has changed a lot with respect to packaging. Okay, when we started, it was the plastic. Then this whole the hype came: no plastic, go green, only paper. Then now no paper, only eco-friendly, bagasse, or even say recyclable glass bottles or whatever. So this has been a big change in consumer behavior, and it is very crucial for QSRs, cloud kitchens, and even the CDRs who are having their deliveries, so takeaways. So the way the packaging is now accepted by the customer is also something very, very different, and the behavior is changing every day and night. Honestly, I mean, despite having paper straws, now we get request, why don't you have a stainless steel straws, why don't you have a glass straws, why don't you have a bamboo straws, and stuff like that. So I believe that these things will keep on changing, these things will keep on evolving. It's about how a brand adapts to such dynamic changes, dynamic customers change, dynamic customer behaviors, which is very, very crucial.
Dhruv.
And
Yeah.
so that's about the customer change. And coming to the whole product acceptance, what happened? COVID was a blessing, as you rightly said. So we have seen a good shift, not just to the typical age group, our typical 25 to 40 age group. We see a lot of youngsters coming to us to have our juices. We see that culture coming in at homes. So we, because of the pandemic, we introduced 1 liter bottles. So we see a lot of good breakfast orders. So which means a family of 2, 3, 4 are all having a glass of juice. So that habit has changed. Instead of a regular tea or coffee, there's a lot more acceptance to fruit-based natural stuffs. So in our product portfolio, we have like the fruit shakes and the non-fruit shakes, the chocolates and Kit Kats and Oreos. So there has been a good shift towards the fruit-based shakes. So which again throws a light upon the fact that, yeah, people are acknowledging and appreciating more when it comes to, and they're more concerned about their health. It's not that आज मैंने जूस पिला तो मैं healthy बन गया. It's about the conscience and the conscious effort which really matters, and which is really changing, I believe, not just in East India but across the country.
Okay. Dhruv, I know you guys opened just before pandemic and pretty much have survived through it. So, but for you also, what is it that you've been able to tweak during the pandemic as far as operations go, which you will continue with? And of course, how has customer perception for you? Customer behavior has changed, isn't the perception? It's about brand perception also. So, what have you seen in these two places? In
So
these two areas?
Bikramjit, when we started in December 2019, we didn't have any plan B or C. We didn't have a plan A because had just started our journey and the lockdown hit us. So our very simple strategy was to take a day at a time. And I'm very proud to say that we operated every single day of the lockdown since then, from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m., operating only one brand at that point in time, the Brewing League, right? So coming back to the main thing of consumer perception, uh, I think all of us have covered all the points, but the most important and striking thing to my mind is how people are subscribing to convenience than ever before. And short turnaround time. So let me just give you an example. Say 6 months back, if you could open your app and download, just book your grocery, and you would be really ecstatic that my groceries are going to be delivered to my doorstep tomorrow in the next 24 hours. That's magical, right? Today, there are apps fighting for delivering your groceries in the next 10 to 15 minutes. I'll deliver in 15, I'll deliver in 20, I'll deliver in 25. So I don't know how fast it's going to be. So people want good quality without compromising on quality. They want it very fast. So the turnaround times have immensely reduced. Second thing is, usually it is perceived that when you're on an aggregator app, you need to provide your prices have to be low. You have to go into deep discounting. I'll come to the deep discounting part a little later, but then the prices don't necessarily have to be low. I think Varun was mentioning it, that if you can elevate the experience of the consumer and provide them an experience, they are ready to pay. Because this perception has changed that, I will order on Swiggy because it's cheaper, or I'll order on Zomato. No, I will order on Swiggy because today the need is I have a meeting in the next half an hour, so I can't go out and eat. I would like to order some kosha mangsha with kaju kishmish pola and enjoy it at home. I can't walk out, right? So our prices, none of our brands have low prices. They're premium prices. When it comes to the deep discounting part of it, we were quick to realize we had a marketing agency for the first 2 months of our journey. And we've never had it since, because what we saw, at least in the cloud kitchen space, where I'm very confident to speak about, is that people, when they search for a product, they don't go on Google, they go on Amazon. When they search for information, they go on Google. Similarly, when people are hungry, they don't search on Instagram or on Facebook. They search on the food aggregator app. You may get many likes on Instagram and Facebook for a certain photo that you put up, but the conversion is very sticky. The conversion is very, very slow. And this is statistics. This is data. This is not a theory that I'm trying to propose over here. We saw that. So what we did is, as you know, jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai. We are on Amazon. We sell masala chai patti. It's a damn good product. You're quick to realize that if you're on the second page, where there's a reason why Instagram Reels are so famous, right? How people are not watching so much on YouTube and they want it in like 10 seconds. If you're on the second page, jo dikhta nahi hai, to bikega kaise? And after some time,
Dhruv is pushing his chai patti on Amazon for all of us. This is the second time.
I'm going to share this link after this.
Retail business.
I'm going to share my Amazon link.
Yeah.
So जो दिखता है वो बिकता on the aggregator apps. And after some time, जो बिकता है वो तो दिखाएंगे, because you're also giving them business. So what happens is that you're actually investing your marketing and advertising money on this platform. So it's not something bad, or it's not a moral issue over here that I'm giving deep discounts. You're just digressing the money into this place. Second thing is, we have to understand the aggregators bring us customers. Today, if I started as a cloud kitchen without being on the Swiggy or Zomato platform, the cost of customer acquisition is immense. The cost of transporting my food from me to Piyush through my delivery rider is immense. And that is the kind of onus that they take on our behalf. So if I had to open the Brewing Leaf as a cafe tomorrow in Baliganj, I would have no customer. But today, if I open, just imagine I process 300 orders in a day into 12 into 2 years, the kind of customer base I've already said, thanks to Swiggy and Zomato, right? So because of them, we have a customer base which we can cater to if we open as on date. No plans, but just putting it out. And I'll send the link after this discussion.
Very diplomatically played. Now, unfortunately, we are running very, very short of time. So I'd like all of you, one by one, in the same order, to give your, your kind of concluding thoughts, starting with Anindada.
Yeah, it was nice hearing all of the other panelists. So I just wanted to add one more thing to the changing trends. One is suburban towns are coming of age. We see places like Durgapur, Asansol, Srirampur, a lot of outlets opening there, a lot of players from Kolkata, a lot of food outlets who are based in Calcutta trying to open up shops in these places. So that's one thing. Another very interesting thing, which is now taken a backstage, but will have major repercussions, is if the corporation enforces no gas cylinders in residential buildings. So as per the rule, so we started this restaurant called Ramani, which was underneath a residential place. And when we wanted to get a license, they refused us. So we had to completely change over from gas-fed equipment to electrically operated equipment. So if that is enforced, that will also have a major change in our food and beverage industry. Uh, and as far as other things, cloud kitchen is here to stay. For some, Swiggy and Zomato are great. For us, it's really bad. So there are various opinions. The customer now has the digital platform, whether it is ordering, whether it is commenting. So that's another thing which is we have to live with. And overall, I hope that if there's no other pandemic, there's no other topic, we'll all do our business well. New places will open. Calcutta is still way behind Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore in terms of new outlets. And I hope with all the young entrepreneurs all around us, we'll see more outlets opening, more nightclubs, more cafes, more cloud kitchens. And I mean, the F&B business should boom in the next couple of years if things go all right. Thank you.
Anand?
Well, I think Mr. Palat has covered most of it. It's there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up as far as how things are moving. There's a lot of adaptation that we're all going to have to do, and it's going to keep all of us on our toes. This is going to be a very interesting time. Um, there's a lot to learn from each other. I mean, I've been taking notes while listening to you guys. Dhruv and Piyush have pointed out stuff that I'm going to action on. So, there's lots to be learned. And Dhruv started off saying, he's a fanboy, this, that, the other. But look, we're all learning from each other, and I'm getting good points from you. I think every format has a space, and I think everything that uh, you're doing has to have a backing. It has to have a why are you doing it, and it has to have people who can understand why you're doing it, and you can take any format forward as long as that is clear. So I think that's something that everyone should do, and everyone will end up doing if they have to survive.
Okay. Varun?
Okay, so I think, like Anand said, there's been a lot of learning from each other, and I think we need to continue to do that. As far as the so-called format wars are is concerned, like I said earlier, there is a scope for every single format here. There are still things which are missing, not just in East, possibly in all of India even today, right? So, and like Palitsa said, Swiggy and Zomato is great for Dhruv. It's great for Piyush, not so much for us, right? So, so there are key learnings, there are key issues in each format, and this is something which I want to say for anyone who wants to get into this industry. Understand which format you are comfortable with. Understand which format suits you. It's massive. It's so if I can say about, like Piyush said, his format is something, it's low capex. You can get in fast, have multiple stores faster. But then his problem is very simple. His problem is that he has to make sure his margins are set, because his margins are extremely, extremely low, which means there has to be major management, major purchase management to be done, right? For a cloud kitchen, so let's say for Dhruv, it's Swiggy and Zomato who are your uh, key partners here. Your product has to be good, your packaging has to be good. All of that is great, but then they again have major issues. They have massive competition today. When I go on an app, I either know exactly what I want to have. So let's say I will simply go to that restaurant, order blah 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 blah. Or if I keep scrolling, and I don't know, there are places we haven't even heard of. Right? So that's the challenge. Let's say for someone like us, there's a massive government challenge. We have to deal with authorities left, right, and center. There's a massive capex. There are multiple issues to be done. So each of the formats has the problems. Each of them can be solved, and each of them are fun in their own way. End of the day, if it's fun, it's you are going to succeed in the business. If you kind of given up on it, it doesn't matter what format you have.
Okay. Thank you. Piyush?
I would like to stress upon 2 points specifically. One is flexibility, second is innovation. So, as what we did was, as a QSR brand, we were flexible enough. With few of our top stores closed for 2 months, airport, Tolly Club, and stuff like that. We started a cloud kitchen from a garage. So we were flexible enough to take that challenge, take a plunge, and figure out how cloud kitchen works. Similarly, we have seen Palitsa's brand establishing a lot of takeaways in a QSR format. I see a lot of 6BPs over the last 2 years. So we need to be pretty flexible with our approach. I've seen brands, CDR brands, launching their virtual brands of bowl brands, where they are serving the food in a meal in a bowl. So they are leveraging their infrastructure, existing kitchen, and creating a new brand flexible enough as a cloud kitchen brand. So that is a key. Second, I believe innovation plays a very important role across all the formats. So be it adapting ourselves to new technology, new packaging, or developing an innovative product. For example, as I mentioned before, we focus a lot on incremental sales. So we are coming up with a one of its first kind of a product, which is a fresh cocktail mixer. So again, this is a need. This is a consumer behavior which has changed over the pandemic, which has led to a lot of house parties, and we've seen a lot of good consumption at house parties of cocktail mixers. So we thought, why should we, not leverage the fact that we can make fresh cocktail mixers with our fresh juices, with sending the fresh garnishings. So that can be a very good stuff. So hopefully in this month we'll be launching that. After a lot of R&D, a lot of recipe, and a lot of tweaking stuff like that, it's ready. And so these are the two key things I believe will help our industry across the formats: flexibility and innovation.
Thank you. Dhruv?
Reliance on technology, how you can integrate how you can use technology for food processing, right? Automation of your automation of your kitchen, and also technology in your backend. What would ideally require 4 people to do my work in the office, I use technology which is backward and front integrated. I use only one semi-skilled person, right? And that is going to increase because you want to keep your keep it asset light. You want to keep everything asset light for the future, right? Second thing is that we've covered everything. Even if food is delivered by drones, the food has to be good. The beverage has to be good. You need to be passionate about what you do, and pick a format and smash it. That's the only thing you can do, and just keep on working on it. Another thing is that cloud kitchen is not it read in conjunction with Swiggy and Zomato always. It's just a precursor to a lot of things that you want to do in the future. You could open into a QSR, a cafe. It's a very good place to understand your product market fit to what you want to do. You could start your own thing. So cloud kitchen is a concept. It's not always read in conjunction with the aggregator. So those are my concluding thoughts. And I'm immensely grateful for this opportunity. Again, it's a fanboy moment for me. And thank you all for your inputs.
I think Dhruv is a reflection of the restaurant industry because he started off aggressively and he's ended up playing defensive shots.
I finished all my points.
I want to thank all of our participants for a absolutely fascinating conversation. Actually, we've run about 15 minutes over, but it doesn't feel like. And I also I want to thank Anirban and Poonam in the NRAI Kolkata chapter who have worked at putting together this panel. And we'd love to continue the conversation offline and, of course, write about what's happening in the East. It's an area where it's unfortunately, like Anindita said and everyone said, it's moving, but it's not moving as fast as some other parts of the country. But thank you very much to all my panelists, and have a great weekend. I hope it's
Thank you.
profitable.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. It was a pleasure being here. Yeah.
Pleasure.